Hey, what's up, guys? Waga Aruji here, coming in with a special video today. This one is going to be a collab with my friend and fellow YouTuber, Trapgodsenpai. We went ahead and put together a bracket of some of the best Isekai anime of all time, and we're going to be debating which ones are the better shows. As you can see here, we've got some great ones lined up, and I'm excited to dive in, but first, I'll go ahead and let Trapgodsenpai introduce himself.
Hey guys, Trapgodsenpai here. I want to thank Wagaruji for inviting me to this video, and looks like we got a pretty cool one loaded up, the Isekai bracket. You guys can look at it right now and see that we got a couple bangers lined up, heavy hitters saved mostly for the later rounds, but I'm excited to get right into it.
Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started with the first one here. And seeing as how I invited you to be here, Trap God, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Okay, so this one might look a little bit like David versus Goliath. We have the time I was reincarnated as a slime versus in another world with my smartphone. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm gonna have to give the win to In Another World with My Slimy Boy, baby. The time I was reincarnated as a slime wins. I don't think this one has much to talk about. The time I was reincarnated as slime is a sick show. Obviously, you have Rimuru with all of his insane powers and abilities he has. It's super well written story, I think. I had a lot of fun watching it. In Another World with My Smartphone kind of seems just like another power fantasy like Isekai. There's not too much depth to it at all. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and just I feel confident putting my vote in right now, and I'll save some of the more details about slime for the later rounds when it's going to have some tough matchups. So I'll go ahead and pass the mic.
All right, so yeah, this one's pretty obvious. Now this whole bracket and everything is randomized, and seeing as how there are a lot of isekais that are on par with In Another World with My Smartphone, I don't want to say anything directly, but we all know what that means. Um, we had to have a couple of them in here, and unfortunately for In Another World with My Smartphone, it immediately got paired up with what I would call a good show. Um, so yeah, this is a very clear choice here. Unfortunate that this is how it starts off, but that time I got reincarnated as a slime had to move up somehow. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one.
Boom.
Alrighty, so this next one, I guess I'll go ahead and get us started off there. We'll switch off between on each of these brackets, so we, both get an equal chance to present our opinions here. So we've got No Game, No Life versus Log Horizon. Now, No Game No Life definitely has somewhat of a cult following, but in my opinion, the best part of the show is the intro. The rest of it all kind of just feels like one of those fake smart anime, like Death Note season 2 or something, where the characters don't really do anything smart. They just pretend they're smart. It's basically just like a bunch of different ways of like cheating. Like I think in the first episode there, like, or not the first episode, the first couple of games there, it's pretty obvious. Like it's basically just the show telling you that the characters are smart instead of showing you. Whereas when it comes down to Log Horizon, the characters actually make like realistically smart moves, and you generally just get brought into the story like feeling like the characters are actually having an impact on their world, and you're shown their individual traits and abilities rather than just being told. So for me, this one is a clear win for Log Horizon. We'll go ahead and pass it over to Trap God Senpai here and see what he's got to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much more to say about it. I know that No Game No Life has like a huge following, and like a lot of people like the show. I don't get it personally. I didn't enjoy the show at all. I think it was just kind of dumb. Like it felt like they never like really made, like you said earlier, any smart moves. It was just they cheated, and then everyone was supposed to be like, oh my god, how'd they think of that?" Like in the chess game, like he's just getting well, to be fair, the other person he was playing against was cheating as well. But halfway through the game, he just stands up and has a speech and then steals all of her chess pieces. And we're supposed to be like, "Oh my god, that was so genius!" Like, what do you mean that was genius? Like, he just stole all of her pieces, and now she has like none to fight for her, and then he wins. Whereas in Logs Horizon, like Shiro's like a super smart, like he's just pulling the strings from everyone. Like every decision he makes is just a super calculated, and you can see his plans actually that he formulates. They're actually playing out as he expected. Like you can see him make a decision, you can see the impacts of that decision, and they all make sense. He doesn't just like when they're fighting monsters, he doesn't give them a speech and suddenly all the monsters are on his team. So I'm easily giving my vote to Log Horizon, and I want to put a challenge out there for anyone watching this. If you can give me like one good reason why No Game, No Life was a good show, just leave it in the comments below, and I promise you I will respond to everyone, and I'll let you know why you were wrong.
All right, there you go. An actual challenge from our guest here, Trapgodsenpai, but obviously he is correct, and anybody who disagrees, you're also wrong. So feel free to go ahead and take up his challenge. I will laugh at all of the replies. But we're going to go ahead and give Log Horizon this easy dub and move on to the next one. So, Trap God, if you'll start us off.
Okay, so right here in the next round, we got Overlord versus Problem Children Are Coming from Another World, aren't they? Um, I don't even know. I like Overlord. I'm gonna pick Overlord is my answer. But I do like Problem Children a lot more than a lot of people do. I think it was a good show and I liked it a lot. Um, Typical overpowered main character, but I think the show was good. It was a lot better than other in its caliber, like Smartphone and other shows like that. So there's a lot of things on this list that it could have won against pretty easily, I think. But it's going against Overlord, and I mean, if you guys have seen Overlord, you know, like it's just a different level than Problem Children. It's Ainz is just such a badass. Like he has so many like just world breaking abilities. Like he can sacrifice like hundreds of thousands of people, summon giant like destructive demons. Like all of his magic is insane. We'll talk more about it in the later rounds, but I'm gonna go ahead and give my vote to Overlord.
All right, so I definitely agree. I'm one of the normal human beings who is not a huge fan of Problem Children Are Coming from Another World, aren't they?
Coward.
Um, I can respect it as a show. All of us Isekai fans out there, and everybody's gonna agree with this, has those one or two shows that just nobody else really understands, but you like them anyway. Like for me, that would be Wise Man's Grandchild. I'm a huge fan of that
Oh
show for
god.
absolutely no reason. It is just terrible, but I could watch it like 100 times. I just think it's like goofy and fun. Um, but for real, like I'll respect it. Some people out there do like Problem Children Are Coming from Another World, aren't they? But Overlord, Overlord is actually my favorite show, my favorite anime. So this one is an easy dub for me. Everything that Trap God said, I wholeheartedly agree with. I've read all the light novels for this. I actually physically own them, and I don't buy a lot of anime merchandise personally, so that's saying a lot coming from me. But yeah, Overlord, easy win here. So
Moving on.
we'll move on to the next one. All right, so this one I think is actually a pretty fair matchup. So we've got How Not to Summon a Demon Lord versus Konosuba, which I spelled wrong, rip me. But either way, so both of these are more comedy oriented with a lot of ecchi jokes mixed in. Personally, I'm going to go ahead and give this to How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. I think that Konosuba leans too heavily into comedy, which as a person coming from America and a native English speaker, a lot of the comedy actually falls, or like I miss. It goes over my head. It's entirely different culture, so there are some things I just won't get. So I can't really lean into a lot of the comedy based shows when it comes to anime. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord isn't really that much better in that regard, but it kind of hits on that power fantasy trope of most isekais a lot better, in my opinion. And there's more going on than just the comedy aspect, which, again, as I said, I don't really get. So I'm not saying Konosuba is not a good show, it's just not one for me. So my vote this time will go to How Not to Summon a Demon Lord for that reason. But we'll go ahead and see if Trap God Senpai has anything different to say.
Okay, well, I mostly agree with everything you said. I mean, I liked Konosuba enough. I thought it was a funny, cute little show. But How to Summon a Demon Lord I enjoyed a lot more. And I have a abnormal enjoyment for the like power fantasy shows. Like those are like my favorite ones. Even if they suck really bad, I still like them more than the average person would. Um and like Konosuba, it was just kind of like I mean some of the like comedy tropes they used in there, like I could see how some people think they're funny, but like Megumin only being able to like cast an ability once a day is just like kind of weird. Like it's not helpful. Um, and honestly, The fact that our main character in How Not to Summon a Demon Lord gets summoned and his two girl companions try to put like a spell on him so that he's submissive to them, but he has complete magic reflection, bouncing the spell back onto them and they're now his servants is funny enough to, I think, solo all of Konosuba with that moment alone. And not to mention he's way stronger, way more powerful, more badass than anybody in Konosuba, so that's why it gets my vote.
All right, coming a little hot in there with the Konosuba hate, but I'll respect it because we have the same
it's
opinion at the end of the
it's
day.
it's
So yeah.
it's not a bad show. It's just like not my cup of tea.
Anyway, anybody down in the comments already yelling at Trap God Senpai here about no game, no life, feel free to throw in your Konosuba hatred as well. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one.
Okay, but like, so let's be honest though. If Konosuba goes up against No Game No Life, Konosuba's easy clapping it. I hate No Game No Life, so the stands of No Game No Life come for me. But Konosuba, it was a good show. You don't need to be too mean to me. But coming into the next round is another show I absolutely despise, which is ReZero, going up against one of the greatest animes of all time, Sword Art Online. Now, I think personally Sword Art Online gets way more hatred than it deserves. Like it's a fun show to watch. Like you're telling me the first time you watched Sword Art Online, you weren't like, "Oh, yeah, I enjoyed the show." It just I think it became a quirky like trend to hate it. Like everyone it was all like it was trendy to hate Sword Art Online. Like everyone always talked about, "Oh, it's such a bad show," and it became like the fun thing to do, like the fun thing to hate on. Whereas the hate should be directed to No Game No Life and ReZero because ReZero sucks so bad. Actually, it might be the one show in this entire bracket that No Game No Life can beat. I despise the main character. He's just such a sissy. Like it's you just watch him whine basically the entire show. He just cries and whines. He doesn't do anything else. Like it's unreal how there's no character progression the entire show. He's a whiny baby in the first episode, and he's a whiny baby in the last episode. Sword Art Online was sick because Kirito has two swords. Yeah, two.
Dude.
I said two, and he uses them both at the same time. Super dope. It was also I liked it a lot when he was standing on that bridge and like the PKers came up to try to kill him, but he healed faster than they could damage him, and I thought that was really funny. And I just enjoyed Sword Art Online a lot. And I'll die on that hill. The Sword Art Online is a great show, and if you didn't watch it and you haven't watched it, go ahead and give it a try.
All right. So as goofy as that was, uh, I agree here with Trap God Senpai. I
Uh huh.
I didn't hate ReZero. You know, I'm very neutral on it. It's a show that I'll watch, and that's about as much as I have to say about it. Sword Art Online, you know, most people will say that they hate it, but everybody likes season one. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying. Like no one
Thank
cares.
you.
I'm just not gonna I'm not gonna read your comment if you say that that's not true. Like everybody likes season one. It's really good. Um, Even I gotta say I like the gun season two. Gun game is sick. Like most people hate it. I understand why they hate that one, but I like that one. So out of these two, one of them is a show I'll watch, and the other one, again, just stop lying. Like it's the first season's good, and we all like it. So this one easily goes to Sword Art Online. ReZero, no competition. It's a cool idea, but like dude, he whines too much. You can't get past it. It's just a show to watch. That's all it's got going for it. Otherwise, you know, if you disagree, like with every other one, hit us up in the comments. We'll tell you why you're wrong. But yeah, let's just move on to the next one.
Yeah, before we move on though, I do want to point out that if you're one of those like season one haters of Sword Art Online, the newest seasons, the ones with Alexization or Alicization, however you pronounce it, those ones are actually like good. I think it's good storytelling. Good. The plot's a lot better than the first season, but the first season was still fun and awesome. But do want to point out that if you're a hater for the first season and you haven't watched the rest of them because of that, go check out the new ones.
All right. So next up here, all right. We got Cautious Hero and Shield Hero. So, um, clearly Shield Hero is gonna win this one. But either way, Cautious Hero is like a fun, goofy, like one off. It's another one of those kind of like Konosuba where it's like for me is way too heavily focused on the comedy, which is why I don't think it beats any in this list really. Um, a lot of the jokes will fly over my head, things like that. But I still enjoyed this show. I thought it was just like one of those. It's one of those isekai that like got made and you can watch it when you're done watching all the rest of them. You know, it's like it's a good time, but it's nothing to write home about. Shield Hero, obviously, extremely well produced, great storytelling. Like all the characters are interesting, things like that. I'm not like the biggest fan of Shield Hero overall, but it's still clearly better than overly cautious hero. There's no contest there. So this one's an easy dub for Shield Hero, but we're gonna go ahead and see if Trap God Senpai's got anything different to say.
Okay, well, I mean, I think you were a little too generous with your review of Cautious Hero. I did not like that show at all. I think the first 11 and a half episodes were just unbearable. It was just the exact same thing over and over again. It's like he kills a slime with one spell, but then has to use 63 spells after it on it. And then they're like, hey, can we go kill a level 2 slime? And he's like, no, we have to train to level 45 before we can go fight the level 2 slime. And also, we need to go get the most perfect armor and the most perfect weapons. And it's like, dude, like, it's a level 2 slime. Like, there's no point in being that cautious. Like, I know you're the cautious hero, but, like, there's no point. And even at the end, like, when the plot twist happened, I was like, okay, that was good enough to redeem 2 bad episodes, maybe 3. It wasn't good enough to redeem the full 11 and a half. Like I'm glad that I didn't stop after episode like 8 because then I would have wasted all my time. But the ending wasn't good enough to save the show. And you find out at the end he's doing like all this cautiousness because like the last time he was a hero, his like the girl he was with died or whatever. But that doesn't lead to you being like that stupidly overcautious. Like there was no chance a level 2 slime was going to kill you. Like you could have sat there for like 2 days straight and just let it attack you and you weren't going to die. There's no point. And Shield Hero is getting my vote for sure. I think Shield Hero has like a better plot. It has like characters that are more likable and very dislikable characters that were designed to be that way. Like the girl who had all the allegations. I don't want to get into it on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the show, and you hate her and you want her to like die the entire show. Like you can't wait until he gets revenge on her. But I think that's a good plot device they use to make you like feel anger towards a certain character. And they had a good way of portraying the plot and everything. So I think Shield Hero wins this one for me.
All right, so I've already got it checked in there. I knew this one was going to take the dub, so we're just going to go ahead and submit and move on to the next one. All right, so next up here, we've got the Saga of Tanya the Evil versus The Devil is a Part Timer. So in my opinion, now this one is definitely going to make people mad. I think the Saga of Tanya the Evil is like it's recently gained a lot of traction, but definitely not as. I mean, the followers aren't as vocal as the ones that there are for The Devil is a Part Timer. But in my opinion, this is an easy dub for the Saga of Tanya the Evil. You might understand why I'm saying that, seeing as how my favorite isekai and favorite anime is Overlord. I'm a huge fan of following what I consider to be a villain as the main character. Um, which I guess we technically do with The Devil is a Part Timer as well, but this is more of like a slice of life anime, whereas the Saga of Tanya the Evil is more like literally following somebody who is psychotic and insane going around like living their life in another world, just trying to, fight off the whims of a god. I just find it like the action, the story in general, the character, Tanya herself, I find all of it to be more interesting, in my opinion, than anything going on in The Devil's a Part Timer. I mean, the first time I saw something that I thought was cool in this show was the end of the first season, where he fights like his followers that show up from hell. And I'm not a big fan of waiting an entire season to see one action scene. I just thought a lot of it was like really not up to par. It didn't. The one cool scene I found did not make up for the rest of it. When I come into an isekai or a show like this, I'm expecting things to be more action packed or enticing rather than I work at McDonald's, So for me, this is an easy win for Saga of Tanya the Evil. But again, let's go ahead and see if Trap God's got anything different to say about this.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying that I might not be the best judge for this one, considering I did drop the Saga of Tiny the Evil after like 2 episodes. So my vote's gonna be going to the Devil's a Part Timer. I think now is a good time that we can get into the ground rules we laid down. We forgot to say them earlier. Since there's only two of us, there's gonna be no, we don't have a tiebreaker when we disagree. So we're gonna do it as if we both disagree on something, but one of us is passionate about who the winner should be and the other one doesn't care as much, then we'll just give that one the win. But if we're both passionately opposing each other, then we're gonna go to flip a coin. So on this one, I'm giving it Devil's a Part Timer. Like you said earlier, it's not like action packed or anything, but you did mention that it's a slice of life. Like it's literally a slice of life anime. So you kind of got to know what you're getting into when you start watching it. And so considering I dropped the Saga of Tiny the Evil, I'm going to be giving the Devil's a Part Timer my vote. I think it was a fun show. It was a funny, cute little slice of life. But I got to give it the win here. So we're going to go ahead and pass it back and see what we want to do with this one.
So I guess I'm not super passionate about either of these. I did not like The Devil is a Part Timer, but only because I don't know, it's too out there. Like, I'm a big fan of shows like Nichijou, for instance. So I like slice of lifes, but when it comes to an isekai,
Yeah, that's fair.
we all know what an isekai is. It's power fantasy, it's harem, it's dumb jokes. And
Yeah.
this did not hit on any of those for me. So in terms of it
Mhm.
being an isekai, I was a little disappointed. But in terms of it being a slice of life, I'm sure it's pretty good, but I wasn't watching it for that. So I'm going to say
Yeah.
I'd be okay with us flipping a coin for this one. I'm not too passionate about it, and I understand why people like this one.
Okay, well then we can go ahead and get to flipping.
All right, so I am flipping a physical coin. I will try and make it so my mic picks it up. And just so you know, the top one will always be heads and the bottom one will always be tails. And it landed on heads. So we will be giving this one to Tanya the Evil.
Alrighty.
All right. Since I went ahead and did two in a row, I'm going to let you go ahead and start this one.
Okay, so we have Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody versus Mushoku Tensei. This one is a lot, I feel like the first one we did, where it's not really a fair matchup, but it's just the way it shook down. Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody it was good. It was another little power fantasy one that I enjoyed personally. But Mushoku Tensei's better. It does it better in a power fantasy aspect. It does it better in like a plot aspect. It's kind of just like a better show. You get to see like the main character like grow a little bit as he gets older, gets more comfortable in his new life in the new world, while still being like super overpowered, super strong, like super badass. I kind of just think that everything that Death March did well, or that you could like Death March for, you would like more in Mushoku Tensei. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my vote to Mushoku Tensei.
100% agree with you there. Death March was another one of those like little fun shows that when you've run out of all the other isekais and you're sitting there like, man, I want another one. It's, one of the first ones that comes up. It's definitely better than shows like In Another World with My Smartphone or, shows of that caliber. It's like a good mid-tier isekai. It's nothing to write home about, but it's definitely not one that most people would hate. It's like one you watch and you're like, yeah, cool, that was an isekai, and then you move on. But when it comes to Mushoku Tensei, like this is one of the best ones that's come out in recent years. Um, like there was no contest here. It's just an unfortunate pairing, but either way, you know, we'll give our honest opinion on this one. It's definitely one that you could watch and be okay with. But Mushoku Tensei clearly wins out of these two. So we'll go
Yeah,
ahead
for
and
sure. It's so I definitely agree with everything you said. Like Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody is like, yeah, I think you explained it perfectly. It's one of those shows when you want an isekai and you watch it and you're not going to regret watching it. Like it's not something you're going to rave to your friends about, but you won't feel like at the end of it, like Cautious Hero, you're like, oh, I just wasted my entire life watching the
okay,
show, or like ReZero or No Game No Life. You're not actually being yourself for watching it.
yeah,
So
exactly,
it's good enough. It's good enough. If you want a isekai to watch and you haven't seen that one because it's a little less known than the others, go ahead and watch it.
exactly. So we'll go ahead and give that to Mushoku Tensei, but no hate to Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody, but yeah, clearly Mushoku Tensei there. All right, guys, this is Wagaruji. Sorry to go ahead and cut away from the video just as we were getting into like the quarterfinals, running everything down there. But the video did end up running pretty long here. So we're going to have to cut this up into two parts. Now, if you're enjoying this content, we did go ahead and upload a different list covering our favorite shonen anime, different bracket, I should say, over on Trap God Senpai's channel. I am going to go ahead and link that in the description, so definitely go ahead and go give that a watch. And a couple days from now, I'll be uploading the second part of this video so you can see what our final decisions did end up being. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching this first part. Stay tuned for the second one, and as usual, if you disagreed with any of our opinions, go ahead and leave a comment down below letting us know what you would have done differently. Otherwise, I've been Waga Aruji, and I'll see you in the next one.